Hi, welcome to Coconuts. I am finishing up the edging on a 9-patch cardigan, and this is a blanket binding or quilt binding, and it's written into the pattern, but if you ever want to try it on an actual blanket or on a cardigan that it's not written into, I thought I would just show you, give you a few pointers on how to do this. First of all, when you go to start it, you're working from, these were live stitches along here. And when you start the edging, you want to go down at least 2 needle sizes. I actually went down 3 needle sizes between my knitting and the binding. So you start that as soon as you begin, not after the turn row, start it right away. You can always stretch this out bigger when you block it, but you can't really make it go in, and if it's all wavy and too loose, you'll just make a mess for yourself. So go down at least 2 needle sizes, and when you start to knit it, and when you go to pick up, when you come around and you're picking up along a vertical edge, what you want to do is pick up 3 stitches for every 4 rows. So you're picking up along the rows. So you pick up 3 rows, skip the 4th. Pick up 3, skip the 4th. And that should give you a really nice edge. It should lie just perfectly once you get it actually whip stitched down. That should work out really well. So that's your ratio there. And what you want to do to do these mitered corners, you're going to find your corner and place a marker, and you're going to be knitting in the round all the way around. When you come to the marker, you're going to want to do increases on either side of the marker every other round, and then work your decrease, or not your decrease, but your turn row, which I did a plain round of purl. You can also do a picot turn row or round, which would be yarn over, knit 2 together all the way around. This is purl, so that makes it want to turn right on that edge. And then after you've done that, on either side of that marker, you're going to decrease a stitch on either side of the marker. And you want to make sure that your last decrease round is also your bind off round. You don't want to do another row of knitting after you've done your last decrease. So as you do your last decrease round, that's also your bind off round. And you do want to go back up a needle size to do that bind off. You don't want to be binding off with the tiny needle. You want this to be a little bit looser. What is going to determine how tight this is back here is your whip stitch, which I've just started there. You can pull it in and get that tension right, but if this is a really tight bind off, you're not going to have the option to get it to lay nice and flat, or to lie nice and flat. So go back up a needle size to do your bind off, but everything else is with a smaller needle. And then I do seam this, or just whip stitch this, before I block. So this is kind of rough because I haven't blocked it yet. And it's nice, especially if you've kind of changed colors. You can see exactly, you can just follow a line right across. And it's really just whip stitching across here. The thing you want to watch out for here is that every edge has its own piece of yarn. So I'll use this yarn along the bottom edge, and when I turn the corner, I'm going to quit with that yarn and start a new piece to go up the front edge of the cardigan to about the center back. And the reason is that I can get the tension correct across the bottom separately from getting the tension correct up the edge of the cardigan. And then the same, when I get to about the center back neck, I'll switch to a new piece of yarn to tack down the other front edge so that I can get them all, so I can get the tension right on all 3 sides. And if it was a blanket, you'd have 4 edges, 4 separate pieces of yarn. And the way you're going to do that is, as you tack, if this were really loose, I can just pull on my tack, and you can see how that just brings it way in. That's too tight, so I'll just pull it back out until it's lying just perfectly, and that's good. But that means if I've got something that's too tight here and I come all the way around to the far edge, if I'm on with the same piece of yarn, that just makes your life harder. So each edge gets its own piece of yarn to tack. and then you'll be all ready. So once that is tacked down, then I'll block. But you'll find it'll want to lie nice as soon as you start to tack it down. It won't curl like that. So there you go with the bias, or not bias binding, the quilt binding.